Daptime, a time dedicated to applying principles that invigorate, motivate, and elevate. Daptime, a time where dope, adventurous people think individually to mutually empower. Full episodes can be found at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on our website at www.itsdaptime.com. Also, follow us on Instagram at Daptime21, Twitter at Dap_time, and Facebook at Daptime. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Daptime TV for all of our latest videos. Thank you for your continued support. We're proud to partner with Harrell Eyewear to bring you this episode, makers of stylish and innovative luxury prescription and non-prescription glasses for all occasions. For more information, visit the partner link on our website, or for direct, go to www.harrelleyewear.com. Harrell Eyewear. Never lose your identity. It's time.
Yo. Welcome back for another episode of Daptime. I am AJ, also known as B-Dubs, Bobby Westbrook. And as always, I'm here alongside my partner in crime, the one and only world-renowned Big Dang. And that groove, well, you know by now, being provided by our in-house maestro himself, Pete Nice. The three of us are delighted to welcome you back for another episode of Daptime, where we hope we make you laugh, learn something, and live your life a little bit better. Well, Daptime is, we already kicked it off. Health 360, Big Dang and I told you, it is the second annual Health 360 conversation. We're going to spend the next few episodes looking at dietary trends, some tips and tricks that people have employed since last year. But this year, we're really focusing on physical and emotional health. So with that, today we're going to talk about dietary trends. You know, it is now time. Relax your spine, activate your mind. Let's get it. Well, what up, Big Dang?
What's happening, my brother?
Oh, man, I'm in it, man. Ready to do it. How are you, my guy?
That's what's
How are you?
My guy.
How are you?
I am blessed, my guy. I appreciate you asking.
I'm glad to hear that, man. This is the first installment of Daptime, Dap Life. And for those who are just tuning in and haven't been paying attention to the last few episodes, we are now doing Daptime Sports on a separate show altogether. So, and it will be good. Big Dame has lined up some stuff that I think we're going to enjoy talking about. But in preparation for that, I was like, man, how do we kick off this show? We usually talk about sports. Well, Big Dame, I got an interesting question to pose to you. So I'm watching Born Identity, the first one, right, a few days ago. And it struck me how Marie is a rather unsuspecting hero. Here's a woman who comes out of, what is chaos for her life, and she gets thrust into this whirlwind adventure, but plays a very pivotal part. So it got me thinking, what are the top 5 unsuspecting heroes from movies? So I wanted to throw that to you and see if you had a list. I comprised one myself, but I wanted to get your thoughts. Top 5 unsuspecting heroes from movies.
Okay. I just so happens, I can accommodate you. Now I have to preface my list. I'm a big anti-hero guy.
He is.
When it comes to movies. So I tend to root for the bad guy sometimes. Well, who some may say is the bad guy, but I understand his plight, so I root. So I say that first, but I'm gonna go on with it. In no particular order, but one unsuspecting hero is. Have you ever seen the Book of Eli?
I have. That's the Denzel flick.
So, yeah, Eli.
Right.
He plays Eli, right? So to me, he was there's two. He could be the unsuspecting hero or Solara, the young girl that he took under his wing. But to me, he was the unsuspecting hero for this reason. It wasn't until the end of the movie that you realize he's actually blind.
Right.
The whole time. So, you watch the movie, you don't realize he's blind until the end. And then when you look back on it, the stuff that he did and the things he overcame and the journey he went through, as a blind man, amazing, utterly amazing. So He's one. Uh, Another unsuspecting hero is Kane from Menace to Society. May sound silly. You
Wow.
may wonder how Kane can be a hero. But if you remember, Kane was about to change his life and move to Atlanta with Ronnie.
Right.
At the very end, and a vicious drive-by scene
Hmm.
occurs, and Kane ends up crawling over to cover up Ronnie's young son to keep him from suffering from a hail of gunfire. So uh, throughout the whole movie, he was pretty much heartless, pretty much about himself, pretty much on his own. You know, he's a gangster. You know, Kane doesn't think about nobody but
Right.
Kane. But at the end, he, he thought with his heart, not his head, and he did save the boy's life. He did, in fact, die, but unsuspecting hero.
Okay.
Um, we've got Jack from the Titanic, unsuspecting hero. So Jack is he's in the
I hear the
water.
violins
She's on the
playing.
board. Right, the violins are playing. I'm thinking to myself, the reason this is unsuspecting is because I'm still trying to figure out why Jack didn't try to find a way for both of them to fit on the. That's what I would have been
Right.
on. I'm like, you. I think if you scoot over just a little bit, we can both fit on this
Right.
board and survive. I'm not finna just
Right.
drop into the nethers of the sea. But great move, very gentlemanlike, unsuspecting move. Uh, Now here's my two big anti-heroes, right? Uh, Movie called Den of Thieves. There's a character named Donnie, actually played by O'Shea Jackson Jr.,
O'Shea Jr.
Ice Cube's son. Yeah. So Donnie plays the fuddling, criminal sidekick. Have you
I
seen the
haven't
movie?
seen them things. I heard it's great though.
It's actually really good. So he ends up. I don't want to ruin it for you. That's the thing. At the end, he ends up. He looks like he's just kind of the sidekick. He's kind of pulled into this thing. It just looks like and he ends up being the unsuspecting hero. He ends up coming out on top in the end. I'll put it like that. I don't want to say too much because you need to see
Okay.
that. My last one, another anti-hero, Kaiser Sose from The
Oh
Usual
yeah, absolutely.
Suspects. Verbal Kent. I mean, unsuspecting. He's the cripple. He can't get anything right, and at the end, you find out he's actually behind the whole thing.
Right.
Like genius, evil genius, but genius. So it's my five, man.
Interesting list. Definitely see
Yeah,
the dark bent to all of all your
anti-hero because it's movies, not in real life, just for movies.
I came up with a list and I tried to stay true to just the whole heroic theme, typical, right?
Right,
So
Captain
Captain
America.
America, right? So I went with Marie. Obviously, was the first, which we mentioned from Born Identity. Zeus from Die Hard with Vengeance, right? Die Hard Vengeance, the one with
Okay.
Samuel Jackson plays. He's a pawn shop owner, got his nephews,
Yep.
and just good Samaritan move early on pulls him into the drama for the rest of the film. But his help is instrumental, right? Because he can solve these
Yep.
riddles, he knows the city, and Bruce obviously needed helping hand to get it done. Neville Longbottom from Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows. Now, have you seen any of the Harry Potter flicks? So
Yes.
Neville,
Yes. I've seen that
so
one.
I
Yeah.
mean Neville, we meet him early on, and he's kind of the
Mm-hmm.
just the other guy. He's a throw in, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
not he just happens to be cool enough to be a part of the crew of outcasts that Harry
Mm-hmm.
and Ron and Hermione are a part of. But
Mm-hmm.
he plays a very critical role in that last installment in Deathly Hallows, and he played actually two major scenes where Neville is instrumental in uh, in the heroic efforts of Harry, Ronnie, and Hermione. Um, George McFly from Back to the Future, right?
Mm-hmm.
We meet him early in life, and he is, Biff is having his way with George.
Right.
But in the long run, even when Michael J. Fox goes back, he helps George McFly find his courage, and it changes his life forever. Obviously, right? And then this guy kind of fits in your genre a little bit. He kind of anti-hero, but is heroic, and it's Milton from The Office. You know,
Yes.
that's my stapler. Like, don't take
Yeah.
the, just taking my stapler, but
Yeah.
it's Milton's actions that lead to really kind of saving the day in the end. So what was interesting to me about these unsuspecting heroes is the humanity of all of them, right? They're just going about their
Yeah.
everyday life. And it made me think, have you ever done anything heroic? Like ordinary stuff that you would just say, man, I think my decision in that moment may or may not have made all the difference in the outcome for someone else.
Yeah, I would say
Give
so.
me a hero story.
I would see so. I would say, man, I don't know if I say that one.
So I said, hey man, don't buy that key. Don't buy that key.
Yeah, yeah, not going that far, but nah, it was yeah, man. I think there have been instances where um there have been instances where I've had conversations where I have tried to be positive.
Mhm.
I'll put it like this: I've been just positive, not anything out of the way. I wasn't Dr. Phil or nothing crazy like that, but I was just positive, like what's up, blah blah blah, that type of thing. To find out later that someone was in a much darker place than I even realized.
Mm,
So it was kind of a hero. It was, I wouldn't call myself a hero, but I would say it was a hero moment because without me realizing it, was a moment where, had I not had that conversation or taken the time to just have what I considered a normal conversation, where would those thoughts have gone
mhm,
to?
mhm,
What depths would you have sunk to had not? And I was told, man, thank you. That changed my outlook on
mhm,
things at the
mhm.
moment. You know what I'm saying? So that's one I could
I
share.
think the thing
Yeah.
that strikes me as interesting is that it's born out of all of these characters' heroic moment is born out of being a willingness to be present and to just stay
Mm-hmm.
connected, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's several years before Neville Longbottom has his great moment. Like, he goes from 7 years old to 17, but
Right.
he stays himself, but he stays connected, and
Right.
he's plugged in enough to what's going on that when the moment comes, he can summon the courage to be that extra hand, that extra helping hand. And it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, Marie was just offering a ride. You know, um, there's a decision point, right? That they all have. There's a moment where they can say, I'm going to choose to focus on me because this is uncomfortable, or they can step outside of themselves and say, hey, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to be a part of the party. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's these awkward moments along the way where they can get off, but they choose not to, right? They choose to say, hey, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
stay in the game. And um, and it made me think how often the world now really has created a narrative of go for self, and that's the struggle, right? And it's like you said, sometimes it could just be a conversation that you're willing to stick around and have that makes all the
Mm-hmm.
difference in someone else's life. And so, part of the joy of looking at this is like it's playful to look back and look at those movie moments and all that, but you know, reminding ourselves that we have to stay connected to one another, check for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember that there are the moments that are obvious, right? There was this cat when I was a kid, man. I might have been 7 or 8 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
we were driving home at night. Let's call it 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and we came up. We're
Mm-hmm.
approaching a stop sign, and there are these two dudes beating another guy with a tree. Now, I know that saying a
Mm-hmm.
tree probably makes people think, oh, he had a long branch. No, they were beating this dude with a tree. It was
Mm-hmm.
literally like a mini tree. And
Wow.
mom's hops out the whip at like a light speed and yells, if you don't stop, I'm gonna call the police. Well, I mean, in a
Mm-hmm.
situation like that, who's listening to, a 5 foot nothing lady, right? She
Right.
wasn't playing though. So she amped up to her voice, like, I said, hey, if you don't stop, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
call the police. And Target starts to take a step towards him, and I'm thinking, yo, That's a tree.
Right.
Man,
Right.
but with all the courage and conviction that she had, it was enough. And I'm
Mm,
sure the grace of God, bro, because, we've all heard those stories go the other
absolutely.
way. But the cats run off. They throw down the tree and they run off. And she saves a man's life. So those are obvious moments, right? Like you spring into
Right.
action in obvious moments. But I think the ordinary, right, that becomes the extraordinary because of things you're unaware of, that's just as
Hmm.
powerful, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so just wanted to use this opening segment of DAP Life to say, yo, sometimes take a second, take a beat, plug into the people around you, be present, ask somebody, hey, how you doing? Are you doing okay? Taking a phone call you don't necessarily want to take because you plan to chill, or picking up the phone and calling and asking about someone, hey, I haven't talked to you in a while. Are you okay? Might make all the difference. You don't know what's going on the other end of that line. So everybody can be a hero. That's the
Absolutely.
opening of DAP Life. We can all be heroes.
Absolutely. I
Feel the
love it.
fire.
I love it.
Big Dang, it's been a while since we've done Book and Binge, man, and I got one for you.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is Genius, Aretha Franklin. Have you heard about this? Have you caught any of it?
I've heard of it. I haven't watched any of it yet.
Listen, for you and dab timers everywhere, make the time. This is a great, great show. First of all, the young
Really?
lady that plays Aretha Franklin does an amazing job. It's very rare that somebody's going to sing classics that and if they're not
Right.
nailing it, you're going to tune out.
Right.
Man, she does an outstanding. She has Aretha's diction and cadence
Mm,
in her speaking parts, and even in the singing part, she has her diction. No one's going. It made
mm,
me frankly appreciate Aretha that much more because for as excellent a job as she does singing,
hmm.
you know, Aretha did that much better. But it was still solid enough that, yeah, it is worth every bit. Courtney B. Vance does a phenomenal job as her father.
Mm.
The guy that plays James Cleveland looks like he could be James Cleveland Jr., which is a feat all of its own. James Cleveland was a
Right.
special
Right.
looking dude, uh,
He was one of a
one of
kind.
a kind. But it is just it's a really great piece of art and telling of a story. So for those who are looking to binge, I think it's like 8 episodes. Make the time, sit down and binge it.
Have you watched the
I
whole
have
thing?
not. I have gotten
Okay.
in maybe 3 or 4, and then I've seen bits and pieces of episode 5, 6, but not able to go through the
Gotcha.
whole thing. But what I've seen is so compelling. And here's the thing. Here's how I got into it, because I was like, I ain't watching that, and I ended up catching like 5 minutes by accident. And when I caught the 5 minutes,
And
I
got
was
was
like,
stuck.
oh wow, I didn't know that about her life. And then the acting is
Stuck.
so great.
Hmm.
I'm like 15 minutes in, and I'm like, I got to get out of here, and yet I'm like, I got to make the time to come back and check it. So I went back and started checking it, and it really is a solid. Let me tell you something. Ti is a pretty good actor. Ti is an
Yeah.
above average
Yeah. I didn't
actor.
realize he was in it.
Man, plays a great
I
part.
didn't realize he
Plays
was
a
in it.
great part. He is an
Really?
a. I'm going on record. Ti is an above average actor, and he's the kind of guy
Oh
that
yeah.
could stumble around and end up getting a part that earns him an Oscar. He is very, very good.
He definitely. Yeah. I'll give him that. I've seen him in quite a few roles, and he does a very good
Yeah,
job. Very good
he's a
job.
little bit better than ATL for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that he's got a little
He does.
range. He's got a
He
little
does.
range.
Little humor,
Yeah. So.
sensibility.
Hmm.
He can connect emotionally. Um, yeah, I'm going out there. Ti is gifted, multi talented, and gifted.
That's what's up.
Big
That's
Game
what's
this
up.
month, we said we were going to spotlight two things in our spotlight moment. We were going to talk about autism and diversity. When I started looking at these, I was thinking, man, these are really profound topics and they require a lot of attention. Autism, so I want to give them each, their proper due. So today I really wanted to talk a little bit about autism um,
Hmm.
because it is close to heart. Autism is really it's challenging to diagnose for some families, and I think I can only imagine as a parent as you're watching your child grow and they're not hitting those marks, either speaking or attention or things like that are warning signs, you're hamstrung. You don't know what to do. Do I take my child to the doctor? What do I do here and there? The earlier you get that diagnosed, the better, because you can start availing yourself of resources. There are a ton of services available. But I went to helpguide.org, which for anyone out there who wants to learn more about autism, I would highly recommend you visit this website. That's helpguide.org. And they have a great article called Helping Your Child with Autism to Thrive. And what was fascinating to me is that people, nonverbal, verbal, varying degrees of functionality, are experiencing a much better quality of life. I think a lot of times we feel that people who are parents of children with autism or their children struggling with it, that they don't have a very high quality of life. Very smart, very intelligent on varying degrees of the spectrum, but able to thrive, learning to be independent, learning to actually go out and get jobs and function in the world and earn a living, all these kinds of things. So they're wonderful insights from that article on helpguide.org. And I would say that as we go through the month, man, spotlighting tools and resources like this will be very helpful to people. If you are the parent dealing with someone with autism, or if you know someone who's dealing with that, to share. And it's a great opportunity. We may have to have Amanda come back and do a poem, because for those who don't know, Amanda Haranoth, who did our poetry series last year, she herself deals with autism. And we heard the genius that she is as a poet. So definitely we want to celebrate autism and support those who are in the trenches in supporting people up close and personal who grapple with this day to day. So Big Dame, keep it live. Got a sensitive topic here for you.
Sensitive. I'm not sensitive.
This
What's
week, the trial kicked off for Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin, the officer who took the life of George Floyd, helped spark right along following Breonna Taylor's murder in Louisville, but helped spark a lot of controversial social unrest last year. That trial took off this week, and we won't call it the OJ trial, but it is definitely something that is capturing the minds of and attention of a lot of folks. So I wanted to get your take going into the trial, and some of your thoughts as you kind of sit and waiting for how society is going to respond to it.
Well, my thoughts on the trial is like, I really feel a lot like I did when the Rodney King trial went down. 92, I guess that was. So at that time, I was a lot younger, of course. And so going into that trial, I had all these, I mean, it was clear. You saw the video. It was obvious what they had done. They had beaten the man senseless. I don't care if he was speeding or what. At some point, he's subdued.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they kept going. And so when the verdict was read, I was floored, flabbergasted, if you will, mouth agape.
My God.
You
flabbergasted?
Right. So it's funny because I think now going into this trial, I really don't have any expectations, which is kind of sad, really. I don't expect anything. I'm not going into it thinking like, oh, well, surely they're going to be convicted and they're going to pay. I don't expect that. I think they should be convicted and, have to serve, justice should be served, but I don't expect it. So I'm not really, I'm kind of watching it from afar and just kind of following the case. But yeah, man, I don't have strong feelings one way. I expect him to get off, to be honest with you. I would not be shocked if he got off, because that seems to be the going narrative for the most part. If he's found not guilty, I don't know what the public response will be. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe another protest. I don't know. I really don't.
I find it hard to believe that he would get off. I mean, not because there isn't precedent for it. Clearly, we've seen that before. And I know people say,
Right.
well, we've had video footage before, and they walk. Um, it just seems like there's just too much out there. In the opening statement of the prosecutor, one of the things he highlights is three different segments of the police officer's oath for Minneapolis PD, and he draws a very clear straight line to how um, those actions on that day, with the image in front of the jurors, um, do not adhere to that oath. And I thought it was really, I mean, sometimes, you're looking at changing behavior, and companies are dealing with it now, trying to deal with diversity and inclusion. I think in theory, a lot of stuff makes sense. And when people look at their own lives, the assumptions made, well, if I apply the same behaviors I do in my private life and I take that to work, that's going to be the same. But you get into a situation where you're interviewing someone, or you have to work on a project with someone, and something about that conversation or interaction sparks a bias that you didn't know was there, but you don't even recognize it as
Mm-hmm.
bias. It's just your response when that happens or that occurs, right? Take for
Mm-hmm.
instance, you and I, we have a cousin, God rest his soul, who's left now, but when he would call, the first reaction is like, where were you raised to have that thick of an accent, right? Like, I'm
Right.
pretty sure you were raised in the city, but you wouldn't
Right.
even know it because he had a very thick Southern accent, and it was like, "Hi, is that
Right.
real?" Like, where that come from? But
Yeah.
just the most beautiful, loving human being. But if you got caught up,
Yeah.
right, in the tone, it could be a distraction, and I think that can
Right.
happen with people. So I thought it was powerful that the prosecutor didn't leave room for your bias to kick in by just putting the words up, but putting the words up, highlighting what he wanted you to see, and right next to it, the image. So when you hear, protect and serve, and not do anything, beyond the limits of just that, and see the picture of a dude with his hands on his hip, knee on a dude's neck while handcuffed, that's kind of like, well, that doesn't look like protect and serve. You can't get caught up in, well, maybe the guy was fighting. If you don't have the image, you can tell yourself whatever feels right, right, in the moment, to
Right.
justify your built-in bias. But when you see the image of reality, it's hard to take that. And so I think it's really going to be hard not to convict. My question is, what will they convict him of?
Yeah. I mean, I hope you're right. I really do. I've seen it so
Yeah,
many times where, I mean, look at Botham John. Uh he's sitting in his own home eating ice cream. A worship leader. I
right,
mean,
right,
I don't a full-time employee. I mean, so they found a way to minimize that. She walks into his home and kills him. And so
what did she get for that, by the
somehow
way?
they
Did she
found
get second degree or
she ended up
manslaughter?
getting like I think it was manslaughter. She got like 5 years. She got like 5 years. I'm not sure.
Wow,
I have to look it
wow,
up and make sure. But
wow,
either way, I mean, to me, that's at least second degree. At least, I mean, you probably can't call it premeditated, but at least second. But I'm not a lawyer. But I'm just saying, there's been so many cases where we've seen video footage. I mean, hard evidence, and you're like, oh, there it is, cut and dry, and nothing. You know what I mean?
right, right,
A lot of times it doesn't even go to trial. It doesn't even go to trial. I.e. Eric Garner, Alton Sterling. You know what I mean? You see the video where there was another way. There was a non-lethal way that this could have been handled. But because he's an officer and there's a certain amount of undue stress that is accounted for within that job, that's the thing about it. When you say there's an oath and he holds up the oath and then he shows the image, I feel like that does need to be done. But then the defense, I'm sure, is going to try to prove. See, the thing about what you can do and what doesn't need to be done, like too far is in the eye of the beholder,
right,
right? So it's all perspective. Like you might feel like, well, all you had to do was smack him to get him off you. I might feel like you had to punch him 2 or 3 times.
right.
Same scenario, but that's just my perspective as opposed to your perspective. So that's what they're going to try to show. They're going to try to say he felt in fear. So he didn't feel comfortable. He didn't feel like he could, even though common sense tells you the guy is handcuffed. What's he going to do? You got officers all kind of back up around you. What's he going to do?
Right.
But that's the thing. It's all about what was his mindset. And when you leave the loophole open that wide, nobody can say what that man was thinking. Nobody can say what his mindset is. And based on how I've seen some of these officers act, they obviously they don't do a lot of mental background checks, or whatever, or like a lot of work, into the mental stability of their background. Because a lot of them, I don't think they're too rap too tight. You know what I mean? Some of them.
Well,
So,
on the heels, and we talked about this a while back. I think I asked you a question on one of these Ask Big Dames if you could introduce one form of legislation. Uh, your chosen path was around this. Nancy Pelosi
yep.
introduced legislation this week to close some of those loopholes, and I thought that it's long overdue, but it's great to give visibility to it. And again, a lot of I think what happens. I mean, who knows? I don't know who the jury is, where they're drawn from. We just have to hope that they're sensible people and will weigh the evidence and make a good decision. But I think a lot has been done to elevate not just the noise, the outcry, but to elevate that there
Hmm.
are in the minds of people who once thought the cops could do no wrong, right? That
Hmm.
police can, in
Hmm.
fact, act in a way that is not in the best interest of the public, that is far beyond the
Hmm.
bounds of law of the law or reason. And I think because that
Hmm.
has been raised and the examples have been so plentiful, the conversations are being had. Now we're hopeful, right? The
Right.
challenge is that the media also serves as such a. I mean, I say the media, we're part of that, but the mainstream media serves as noisemakers. They can be distractions from what people need to really pay attention to, right? Because it's the hot
Hmm.
story, it's the hot topic, and you can numb or dull down the outcry because, well, I heard this just an hour ago. I heard this 30 minutes ago. This was just plain. It's on the
Hmm.
ticker. The breaking news. After a while of seeing it, you're numb to it, and so we just have to
Hmm.
hope that that doesn't happen as well. Um, but it'll be interesting to see. If how would you feel? I mean, you said earlier, it wouldn't surprise you, but in your heart of hearts, how would you feel if, in fact, he gets off?
Well, see, and that's the thing, and this is probably kind of dangerous too. But so like I said, I don't expect. I'm not expecting him to get convicted. I'm hopeful, but I'm not. Like when I went into the Rodney King thing, and put this on my youth, put this on whatever. But I was yeah. I mean, it was clear, right? So I'm expecting them to get, to get what they got coming to them. And when that didn't happen, I was, like I said,
Right,
flabbergasted,
right,
right? So now I'm not. I'm past that. So I'm just like, now I've seen it enough to where it's like, okay, I've seen this. I've seen this show before. Um, it looks a little different. Some of the characters have changed, but I've seen the show before. Let's see. You know what I mean? So if he gets off, I'm not. It won't shock me at all. I'm already prepared for that. So and maybe that's kind of sad that maybe that's part of it. You know what I mean? You shouldn't. No woman should ever be prepared for a relationship with a man that abuses her. Right?
right, right, right,
We would always
right,
downplay. We would jump all over that. Right? What are you doing? You deserve better. You deserve. You don't deserve this. Right? Society as a whole. That's what we would tell
right.
that woman. But nobody tells
You
us that.
told Harpo to beat
You know what I
me.
mean?
Right, right,
Right, right, right. Nobody looks at this situation
right.
like that, seemingly. I mean, you got a lot of people now but overall, I think it's cut and dry. I mean, you shouldn't have to feel like this is just how it
You're
is.
touching on
You know what I mean?
something now that I think people don't recognize, and I think it's a great opportunity to spotlight. I often reference Dr. Joy DeGrew's post-traumatic slave syndrome, and this is one of those cases, right, where
Right.
people don't understand how certain actions
Mm-hmm.
publicized it. It's not today's action only that we're reacting to, right? We've got
Mm-hmm.
generations of certain things that are just in the DNA, right?
Mm.
Um, if a parent experiences certain things as a child, they're going to be apprehensive when they see the potential for the same thing to happen to their child, you know?
Absolutely.
And so you train that
Absolutely.
child with a bit of your fear or wisdom gained, you call it, from that experience. And I think
Right.
that we've got generations, when you think about some of the things that were done to slaves, horrific things that were meant to instill fear, right? We talked a little bit about it
Right.
when we talked about Deshaun Watson situation, right? And how the terror
Yeah.
of the black man not being able to control himself. And so I think sometimes people should be sensitive to the fact that, you know, seeing the series of publicly executed black men, and I call them executions because it was reckless discharge of violence against them that took their lives publicly.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
you gotta know that historically we've seen this movie, and it creates a mindset that one, your life isn't as valuable. Two, that if something happens to you, your family might not get justice. And so,
Right.
while ordinarily I would try to, we both would try to steer clear of the importance of having this conversation, I think the value of having the conversation keeps us from having the emotion around something like that, should the outcome be negative or positive. Having the emotion around that moment erupt and be something destructive, right? Because even if he's convicted, that's what's supposed to happen. Like it shouldn't be,
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm going to the Derek Chauvin conviction party down at the bottoms up. Like it's not, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Um,
That's
it's
not a
not a
win. That's
win.
not a big win. That's just
Right.
par for the
Right. That should
course, right?
happen,
Yeah.
right? You keep it moving.
Right.
Um, but then likewise, you shouldn't be like, I'm about to go tear up the city because he didn't get convicted, right? It's like
Right.
we have to have conversations to remain level headed, and take sensible acts to address it. Um,
I,
and that's my gut feeling. Go ahead.
yeah. No, that's interesting because and I think yes, I think overall, I think all of us, all races, colors, creeds, need to be able to openly discuss any and all of these issues. You know, in a civil manner, of course, but talk about it. It's there. It's the elephant in the room. You know what I'm saying? If you piss your wife off Monday, here it is Thursday, and you still haven't addressed whatever it was that the root of that issue from Monday, you can walk around. I made some greens. They on the stove. Okay, all right. Y'all can do that distant talking
Right.
up, but it's still something
Right.
there that needs to be addressed. And until it's addressed, you might move on to another good day, but that issue's still going to be there until it's acknowledged, addressed, and then a lot of times it might just take a, oh, I understand, or I apologize, or okay, I didn't realize that's what you were saying. Any kind of acknowledgement can go a long way. I was listening to an interview. Lennox Lewis was on another podcast that I watch, and they were talking about just different stuff with his career, but he was talking about when he was in South Africa and he met Mandela and the whole nine yards. And he was saying one thing about South Africa is that people freely have conversations. So apartheid was
Mm-hmm.
huge
Mm-hmm.
over
Mm-hmm.
there, right? But they freely talk about it, black and white. It's open conversation to have. I mean, yes, this is part of our history as a country. People have opinions about it on both
Mm-hmm.
sides, and they conversate about that. That's healthy,
Right.
though. That's healthy. We don't do that here. We act like it never happened. We act like nothing ever happened, and we're just great. And this is the greatest country. Let me say that first. This is the best country out there. Who can come here? Who can come out of the mud and become a millionaire,
Mm-hmm.
billionaire? Where can you do that
Mm-hmm.
at? So you have to acknowledge what it is and just be honest about it. But the truth of the matter is there's some deep dark skeleton bones in the closets, and they stay there because we don't talk. So
I, li-
I agree
I
with you.
think
Conversations are
you had
crucial.
an idea, some things that we can do to help foster that conversation later this year, and I really am looking forward to doing that because I think creating a platform and addressing it from a number of different angles that maybe not aren't being done is important. There are a lot of
Hmm.
conversations going out, but one thing's for sure: us as a divided people does not work. We can have different opinions, but we cannot be divided and be successful as a people. Individuals will have success,
Right.
groups will have success, but as a people, we cannot be divided. Big Dame, good time for us to take a quick break. How We Feeling is a partner that we have been with for a while. And man, I'm telling you, I'm loving this little journey app that they got. I'm encouraging every Daptimer, get on over to their website, www.howwefeeling.com. Download the app for yourself, start a journey, find friends who are on their own journeys, and begin using this thing. It is wonderful and refreshing to have authentic conversations online about things that matter to you the most in a way that isn't quite being done anywhere else. Everybody's got a story. Just change where you're sharing yours today. www.howwefeeling.com. Big Day Feature Conversation, Health 360 2021. Dietary trends. That's the focus of the day. I wanted to start by
Mm.
asking you, when you think about dietary trends, and I want to dissect this from a couple of different vantage points. First, I want to look at programs themselves. Are you seeing any
Mhm.
programs in particular that really are catching your ear or your eye, or you're hearing people follow that you think have real merit, or in some ways maybe aren't? They're just, I think that's a little extreme. I know keto was popular.
Keto, yeah, keto's popular. There's a big spike in what has been for some time now, for a few years, and it's like a spike in
Hmm.
veganism.
Hmm.
I see a lot of people are going the vegan route. So I think it's hard to say if I see any merit in any of them. There's merit probably in all
Hmm.
of them, um, depending on the individual. You know what I mean? It depends on what you're trying to do, what you're looking for, and overall what you're trying to accomplish. But I think you have to be careful not to just go with the program because it's a hot
Hmm.
program, because your body may not react. Some people go. So part of the keto thing, I think, is like no carbs, minimal sugar or no sugar. It's just mostly fats, meats,
Hmm.
nuts, stuff like that. Okay, that might work for somebody, but there's some people who that's not going. Your body's not going. It needs
Hmm.
more.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I think of diabetics when I think of diets
Hmm.
like that. You need some sugar. What I mean? You're going to need to supplement. You know. So I mean, I think it's important to first know what you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to build muscle? Are you trying to lose weight?
Hmm.
What are you trying to do? So I think the first thing you have to do is understand what you're trying to accomplish, and then you can match up with the correct program um, from there.
I heard about Whole 30, which also is kind of getting a lot of attention, and it's this 30-day commitment to basically just eating. They call it real food, right? So you're having your proteins, getting that
Mhm,
from meat, fish, beef. You can have any of that stuff. You
mhm,
control your portions, but they're pushing you away from things like legumes and beans and
mm,
things like that. And they're suggesting that what they produce in your body is counterproductive for your overall health. You're getting off sugar, you're getting off alcohol, things like that, which are always a plus. You get all your sugar
mhm,
from fruits and raw vegetables. Um,
mhm,
but even within that family, like they're narrowing it down pretty tight. And I think the going to the extremes, that's the thing about programs to me. When people hang their hat on a program, like people tend to take an extreme path, like, okay, I'm going to do this and this is going
mhm,
to be it. And I think you make a really good point. Like, you've got to be balanced. You got to listen to your body as you're doing it. Your body will usually tell you if it's getting fatigued. Maybe I'm missing something that I need to have in it. If you're noticing changes in the way that your body functions or performs uh, that aren't healthy, then you probably
mhm,
need to be like, hey, I think um, programs are great, but you need to really do your homework on the program. You also need to be doing it under, close care. And if you don't know what you're doing, just picking it up and going with it, you might lose weight, but you might not do it in a way that is healthy for you. The more I read about programs, keto, paleo, whole 30, even veganism, which, people are doing a bunch of vegan programs, but you might be getting sugars you shouldn't be getting on a vegan diet because you're trying to supplement for taste, and you try to supplement meat
Yeah.
with some things that aren't good for you. So I think it's really important as people look at programs to be careful. One of the things I found interesting about dietary trends, Big Dame, is technology is playing a factor.
Mm.
We know from a convenience standpoint, food delivery is saving people. There's all these different delivery services that will bring you your food for the week. They bring you your
Yep.
meals already prepared and stuff like that. But I found a company that is doing using artificial intelligence to develop protein.
How does that work? I'm confused.
Right. So they're using some sort of AI system to develop protein alternative that they say is more optimal for the body. Now, I'm not using it, so I can't tell you that it works or does not work, right? But what I do know about it, just in my own mind, I'm like, what if I can't get that from fruits and vegetables? The body is designed to digest those things naturally. So it
Right.
kind of scared me that we've gone so far that now technology is creeping in and taking away the personal responsibility to some degree, right? Like the decision making that goes along with, like, every time I go home and I cook, I have to choose to prepare for myself the right things. But if I
Mhm.
get this, meal delivery service, they'll just bring them to my house, and now I don't have the choice. What do you think about that?
So you got to be careful not to let people take the guesswork out of your process, right? The guesswork is that's where the growth is, the process. Man, we talked
Right,
about the
right.
process once before. I think it was last week, but that's where the growth is at. It's in the process. And part of that growth is the guesswork for yourself, figuring your own body out, figuring out, what your body responds to, what helps you, what you can lose weight to, for example, sugar. I know sugar is like my nemesis. That's like my kryptonite, right?
Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Oh man, all day long. All day long. But it's like so as long as I'm staying away from the sugar, other than natural sugars, fruits, dates, things like that, I'm okay. When I get off of a cleanse or when I get back to binging on Oreo cookies and whatever else, vegan ice cream and all this other stuff, I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference. I get
Mhm,
inflammation. Like I can feel it in my
mhm.
joints. I can feel it, man. Um, but I've learned that about myself. You see what I'm saying? So it took trial and error. It took being hard headed. You know what I mean? It took all of that to realize that, you know what, sugar ain't your friend. If you're gonna fall off the horse with sugar, that needs to be Sunday after dinner, a little dessert treat or something, weekend treat, and that's it. Leave it alone. You can't do that all week. You know what I mean? You
Right.
can't do it. I think I think again, it goes back to the society that we're in, is that if you buy in, what happens is when one program doesn't work, I feel like they write a new program,
Mhm.
right? So it's the same thing with any computer. Yeah. So this is out. We need to update. Let's update the system. Let's. I think that's what they're doing. If you're not careful, that's what they're doing. They're writing you a new program. They're updating the system. Now, just trust us. You want to be vegan? Cool. We got protein
Mhm.
for you. What is it? What is
Right.
it though? And I'm a victim of it too. I'm vegan. I partake in a lot of these convenient, taste friendly foods. But at the same time, I have to ask myself, what is it? Because like you're talking about artificial intelligence, protein. What is that? I just we don't know what that is. You know what I mean? So just because they're offering it to you and it tastes good and they're saying, hey, we've created a new version, because here's what I know. There's nothing new under the sun. I do know that. So if you created some new protein, I need to know what it is, because I thought protein was protein, and I thought it's been here for years and years and years. So if you got some new stuff, I need to know what that is, because that's crucial.
So it's funny to me because the ease with which I think we can get into comfort. I mean, sometimes these things are really great jump starts, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and it's if you're not careful, you feel like you don't have to do the extra work. I say this guy's name often when we talk about health. It's one of the things I love about Bricks Fitness. He starts with uh, education. That is his thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I think for the person who wants to I just want to fit into them jeans. I, I just want to stop snoring. I just want to stop sweating walking up a flight of stairs. For that person, you're looking for the quick fix. But the reality is, you probably didn't get where you are real quick. You
Right.
probably got where
Right.
you are with time, and it's going to take time
Mm-hmm.
for you to undo that. And to your point, the journey is going to lend itself to you learning, growing, and evolving as a human being. And that's the best part of getting fit. That's the best part of health is what you gain in self-awareness, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, man, my ankle's been hurting lately. And they hadn't been, oh man, I've been eating a lot of pasta, been eating a lot of
Mm-hmm.
carbs, probably
Mm-hmm.
swelling, and you adjust, which is a great segue to foods, right? When we start talking about dietary trends, I mean, to me, one of the things that I was really blown away by when I looked at the trends that were really successful and the ones that were most useful, because as you know, I mean, you've been vegan for 6 years now. I'm just starting my journey. Never going to be a vegan. Never. I don't see that. Uh, so I'm going to take your hope all the way.
Never say
I'm
never,
shooting
my
your
brother.
hope right now in the butt. Um, but I don't foresee being a vegan. I think I will always, maybe I always, as far as I can see now, I'm going to probably want to have a steak once or twice a year still. I like really good fish. I enjoy meat from time to time. If there's a cookout, I'm going to want to have ribs once or twice a year, right? So I don't see being vegan,
Right.
but that's it. Um, I do enjoy now being really keen on fruits and vegetables, man. And so finding these things, there's a lot of information about different fruits to eat, different vegetables, different ways to prepare vegetables, and what they give the body. Like it's not like you just go to the store and grab up some green beans. I had no idea that frozen vegetables, by and large, are actually pretty good for you because of when they're
Mm-hmm.
packaged. And so for people who are looking for convenience and looking for something, I want broccoli, I need to have it fat. Hey, getting a thing of broccoli that's frozen and having that on deck that you can quickly throw in some chicken stock, steam it up, put some lemon pepper on it if you want, and have that as a meal or filler or with dinner. Great way to get your veggies, get the nutrients you get from fresh veggies. If you just don't want to, always be going to the store grabbing fresh vegetables. But I've been amazed at what information is available, encouraging people to eat real food, like fresh, natural food, as opposed to processed stuff. That is, to me, is the most
Mm-hmm.
exciting trend that I'm seeing, and maybe that's a byproduct of more people becoming vegans.
Yeah, I think people are, becoming conscious of what they're eating. I think the biggest thing about the trends, right, is this. So you've got all these 10-day smoothie cleanses. You've got 14-day this, 5-day that, and they all work. They will work. If you're just looking to lose weight, you can do a 10-day cleanse where you just, drink some smoothies and eat some nuts and a couple hard boiled eggs a day, and you'll lose weight. The problem is you'll gain it all back and then some, because you skipped the process, right? So it's really meant to be a jump start, right? If you do that, if you do a cleanse like that, you can do that, jumpstart your system. but then you're supposed to carry on with
Hmm.
healthy
Hmm.
habits, right? What ends up happening is people lose the weight and then they're like, okay, boom, I can fit into that suit or that dress or that bathing suit or whatever. I'm ready for vacation. And then you never develop the new habits because like you said, you didn't get that way overnight. You're not going to get out of it overnight. So over time, you develop bad habits. You developed habits where you weren't mindful of fruits and vegetables. You just wanted what tasted good. Most of us did, you know? And then one day you look up and you find yourself in a space where it's like, whoa, my body is feeling it. I gotta treat my body
Right.
better on the inside, right? So that's part of what that process is. You're basically forming new habits, and then you find yourself in a place where you might only lose 2 pounds a week as opposed to 15 pounds in 10 days, but that 2 pounds will stay off, and then next week maybe you'll get another pound or
Hmm.
two, and then next thing you know, a year's gone by. You know, you're down 50 pounds. You're feeling good. You've got all these new tools in your arsenal,
Hmm.
right? You developed all these new techniques and ways of thinking and ideologies that work for you. You have a better understanding of your body. So you know what fruits and vegetables work best for you. You know if carbs are okay for you or not okay. You
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
You gain that understanding through a relationship. It's kind of like having a relationship with yourself. You know
Right.
what I
Right.
mean? That's what the process is like. You know what I mean? So I think I think all in all, man, I do think, and I think that's where the fresh fruits and vegetables is coming from, or whole foods,
Hmm.
real foods, because people are realizing that. So it was a big thing against GMO, right? GMO made foods. That was a big thing at one time. Well, just because it's not meat or a vegetable, it could be a
Right.
artificial intelligence
Right.
made
Right.
protein. That might be a GMO. The
Right.
same thing, right? It's genetically
Hmm.
modified and
Hmm.
created. So it's the same problem, same issue. And I think people are realizing that and seeing through it. And I think that's why people are like, hey, whole foods, real foods, that type of thing.
That's why that fat it talks back to you like Lawrence Fishburne when he was playing Ike Turner. You can't get rid of me, Ann. I'm in here. I'm in here. Uh,
Yeah, it gets
it
in there
does,
quick too.
but here's the thing that's interesting, Big Damon, and I love that this is putting a bow on this because this whole conversation kind of ties together and culminates
Uh-huh.
here. Um, you said in it's an episode or two ago, as the DAP DNA, you are what you eat, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
the ability to, I think we said in the first segment, be present. To show up in relationships with
Hmm.
friends or family, coworkers, loved ones, for those moments that are unsuspecting heroic moments. You got to be clear
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
to filter out the noise of the world around us in a way that's healthy and prevent yourself from being unduly stressed by things that you're not directly able to influence requires
Hmm.
you to have bandwidth, right? To for your
Hmm.
body to be operating in a way to dispense of negative stress and properly burn and use good stress in a way that keeps
Hmm.
you clear minded, right? Um, and all of that ties together with, have you got enough rest? Are you getting exercise? Is your energy level the right way? Is your brain feeling sluggish? And that's where putting good things in really helps. One of the things that I think I
Hmm.
shared with you early on is when I made the changes and I was juicing and started having better things, man, amazed at just how clear I was and how fluid throughout the course of the day. Not finding myself peak and drop off at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And, oh, why am I so tired? Sleeping like a baby through the night. And I think it's because the body is saying, hey, man, we haven't been stressing all day, processing trans fats, overworking on getting rid of these toxins and trying to process them. Your heart isn't working as hard against stuff that's working against reproduction, right? Like it's just all of that
Yeah.
that is helpful. So I think of the dietary trends, if I'm making a recommendation to listeners, it is anything that's talking to you about eating whole food, real food, fruits and vegetables in their natural form and doing as much of that as possible is a good baseline to start. because that's going to help you sleep better. It's going to minimize the swelling and inflammation that happens in your body when you put the wrong things in it. Anything that's going to reduce your sodium. Man, it blew me away to realize that a teaspoon of salt, 2,300 milligrams of sodium in a teaspoon of salt.
Yeah. And that's probably enough
That's
for the whole day.
that's more than enough for your whole day, but you don't know it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you go
Yeah.
get you some fries somewhere. You got your week's worth of sodium in one thing of fries. That kind of stuff.
Yep.
Educate yourself. It's going to take time, but it's going to be well worth it. So um, we'll leave that there, Big Dame. I think that's a good place to put a pin in it. And then when we come back next episode, I think we can talk about some fitness trends as well. But right now, we just want to spotlight to you, Daptimers. We are so proud to partner with dietary. This 12-year-old entrepreneur, as we've told you a bunch of times, Samira Jacobs, is doing a phenomenal job. Big Dame, I just found out she has been granted a seat in a young entrepreneurs program out of Atlanta for young girls. And she is one of a handful of young girls who are going through this program, learning how to build your business and grow it and expand it. So it's a very exciting opportunity for her. But in the meantime, she's continued to make her phenomenal products, bath and beauty bombs and body sugar scrubs and all this kind of stuff that's loads of fun, playful, but the biggest thing is it's made with a lot of love. So visit their website, www.diatseum.com. Take a look at her catalog. Definitely buy something, buy 10 somethings, and support this young visionary and entrepreneur in spreading love and keeping the world from being funky. So with that, Big Dame, it is time for Dame's Nugget of Affirmation, the DAP DNA for the day. What you got for me, brother?
Man, let's take a ride with Pops. Welcome to Pop's Corner. This is where we show our respect to fathers and fatherly insight by sharing some of the wisdom we received along the way. This is just our way of honoring a father's wisdom where life and lessons go hand in hand. So as we were talking today, we threw out a lot of dietary trends, right? There's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of different ways you could go. You you could just be vegan. You could be vegetarian. You could just eat meats and nuts and just leave the sugar alone. There's so many different things that you can do. There's the Atkins diet. There's this diet. There's that diet. There's so many different things. And at the end of the day, I remember when I first started trying to acclimate myself with, trying to get in a little bit better shape, it's a lot. It can be overwhelming. You know what I mean? So, but the one thing that's for certain is that I can remember back in the day, Pops threw something, and this was regarding something different. It wasn't regarding eating right, but we'll leave that for another show. But the statement he told me was, always remember, the dog that barks the loudest ain't got no teeth. Profound statement, once again. But the thing, where that correlates is, the more you can talk about what kind of food, you can talk about what kind of program you on, there's so many programs. There's so many great ways to lose weight. There's so many great ways to get in shape. That's all talk. Until you buckle down and put one foot in front of the other and adhere to what's best for you. One thing you do know is that vegetables are good for you. Fruits are good for you. If you want to eat a steak, do whatever you do. You don't need to eat a 15-ounce steak every night. You know what I'm saying? I mean, some of this stuff is just applying the common sense that you have within you. And I get it. We like to, we like what we like. If it's good to us, it's good to us. I get it. But if you're really serious about doing something about your fitness, you want to lose weight, you want to just get in better shape, whatever it is you're trying to do, you need to just really buckle down and do it. You know what I mean? The time for talking is over. No more barking. No more loud barking. Show your teeth. Put in the work. Do what needs to be done. And you'll start to see results. And it's really that simple. It's really that simple at the end of the day. You'll learn different things. Add what you can add. Throw out what you can't use. and keep it moving. But at the end of the day, every day that you get up, you need to be making another step towards your goal. However small it may be, or however large it may be, as long as it's another step, you'll be good to go. So that's one to grow on right
The
there.
dog that barks the loudest ain't got no teeth. I like that.
Ain't
I
got no
like
teeth. That's why he barking so loud, trying to scare somebody away. He ain't gonna bite nobody. Don't worry about him.
That's like the cat that come in. No, he ain't been doing nothing with his diet and looking crazy. And before you even can say anything to him, how you doing, man? Man, I've been on my program, man. Been on my program trying to do it.
I don't know why I can't lose no weight, man. I've been weighing in every day. You know what I'm saying? It's smelling
Man,
like Hennessy.
ain't nobody asked you about your program, man. I'm on my program, man. Just working.
Right.
Man, I appreciate it, man. The wisdom is always love. Enjoying this conversation. Just want to remind you, Daptimers, our focus this year has not changed. So even as we approach this series this season, building for better, striving for greater. That's the underlying tone and theme of Health 360 2021. You want to build to get better, to be better. You want to strive for greater. And we want to attack our health in that regard. So wherever you are, it doesn't matter. Big Dame has always reinforced this. I believe in it to my soul. Just one step. Just one step. If walking up the block and back to your house is what you can do today, do that. You don't have to run a 5K, but build for better, strive for greater. Big Dame, as always, I appreciate the wisdom. I appreciate the conversation, my brother. It was flawless, weighty, but flawless. Pete Nice, the groove is always needle on the record, on time, no scratch. Appreciate that groove, man. But the three of us definitely want to thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. Be sure to share this everywhere you can. If you're catching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the alarm so that you can be notified whenever we put something new up. And share this link with 10 of your friends. If you haven't done so, visit the website. There's a subscription box there. You put your email in and communicate with us. Share your feedback with us. Let us know if the show is striking a chord with you, or if there's things that you'd like us to talk about that we haven't touched on. If we recognize you, we'll definitely send you a DAP pack. If we recognize what you do, or make an announcement on the show about it, referencing it, we'll send you a virtual DAP pack. I guarantee you will like it. Stop by the DAP shop. Got some hoodies in there, t-shirts, a bunch of stuff. That some of it is linked to characters on the show that we've talked about, themes. There's some DAP DNA in there, some Mama Says, some Principal's Office. So definitely support the movement. Everything we're doing here is trying to build a movement of people who want to laugh, live, and learn together to make the world a better place. You can catch us on social media. On Instagram, we are at Daptime21. On Twitter, we are Dap_time. And on Facebook, we're at Daptime. Whatever you do, remember to do it with others. Do it with people, not for people. We'll leave you as we always do. We wake up in the morning, look in the mirror. There is your competition. We out.
Peace.